Hello, welcome back to Ruby on Rails Airbnb clone series. This is part 57, and in last two videos we did some work for Stripe payments, but apologies from my end. The solution that I was trying is not working anymore. It has been deprecated sort of. So let me show it to you what are the issues that I faced. So in last video we did set up our Stripe customer in our booking payment controller, and using this our plan was to use I think payment intent, and I did try that. The problem with that was all the transactions were happening, the details were correct, but it was going into incomplete mode, and I didn't want that. I want that to be in successful mode. So after going through a lot of documentation and everything, the problem that I've identified is that in India, whenever we type credit card, government has banned direct credit card transactions. What they want is that there should be some sort of authentication process for all the credit card transactions, especially if they are happening outside India, and there are some other export laws also, because of which Stripe, not just for India, they have obviously been working on this product, so they have updated their APIs a lot. So APIs that I was using earlier were payment intent as well as charges. Let me check where the charges is. This one. But if you go through the documentation, these are deprecated now. Okay, payment intent is not deprecated, but I'm unable to figure out a way using that correctly because that's going into incomplete transaction mode. So after going through this entire documentation, I have found that we can create sessions. Okay, so this is a session. Let's go to create session. I'll explain to you everything first because I've tried it. It is working. You can see that I've made successful payments, but I'll explain to you the code first and then we'll go in depth of it. So we can create sessions. Sessions uses these many information and they don't depend on customer. That's first thing. Second, they do depend on price. Okay, it's an ID and everything. So when I went to prices, we can create a price. Okay, setup details and everything. Now when I was going into price and all those things, I figured that we might need to create product also. It is not compulsory, but to make our UI a bit better, we can create product. It's not compulsory still. So what I will do is we will start with session first, then we'll go with prices. Once our payment is working, then we'll optimize on that using products and see how it goes. So let's start. Before we start implementing what the exact Stripe is, I'll have to make some changes. So first is, we don't need this Stripe customer in booking payment controller. We don't need this Stripe customer. So let's get rid of that. We can improve these @ property. At the same time, we don't need this user also because we can use current user. Obviously the user who is signed in, the person who has signed in this will be making the payment, so we can directly access this user using current user. So these are the two changes that I want to make. Now along with that, there is one more change, which is if you go to the property reserve, we were showing this UI using Stripe elements. We don't need that anymore. So really sorry. I know it's not the best thing, but that's how I've been creating this series, like adding without working on it in advance. I have been creating this series, and that's why mistakes are bound to happen. But it's fine. I won't I won't deprecate those videos. I will keep those videos, but yeah, that's how it will remain. So let me go to property. No, not property. This UI is in views, booking, and this. So today whatever we are learning is sort of what we can say the not so happy path of development. Okay, so now what we will do is we don't need this UI. If I refresh, it looks like this. but we still want to make the payment and everything, right? So whenever, and earlier we were sending all these details to our create action, so we will do that again. So how can we do that? Let's create a form which we can submit. So for that, form with in Rails. Finally we were using this path only, right? So we'll use that path in our form. Let me check this. Form with to form. This, I want this one. Let's copy this, paste it here, but instead of this URL we will do something else, which is, and the method will be post. We will do this. Let me make this indentation a bit. It's fine, we can keep it like that. The point is that we are using this URL, we are calling a post method using this form, and we won't use this label, we won't use this texture, we will just use our button name, which was, what was the button name earlier? I think confirm and pay. And we will add classes also. Class, for that I'll go to Tailwind UI. Let's go to application UI. In that, go to button. By the way, it's almost midnight here, and I ended up like 4 to 5 hours in this to make it work correctly. Let's copy this. I'll just copy all the classes. And in these classes, once I save, it looks like this, but I don't want confirm and pay. I want, I do want confirm and pay, but I don't want indigo color. So I will replace indigo 600. Indigo 600, 2 instances with primary, and indigo 500 with primary. Refresh. Maybe on hover I can use dark. Yes, it looks a bit better. I think it does have a, no, it doesn't have a border. Text size, if we can increase. Text Excel. Nope. Large is fine. And we will add a margin top 8. Confirm and pay. And in this case I don't think we need pay with and all those things, so let's do one thing. I'll just cut this entire button, get rid of this div, and I can keep this confirm and pay on right side at the bottom. Refresh, looks like this. Confirm and pay on right side. So for that we have this div, and then there's second booking information div. I'll keep it on left side only, otherwise I will have to do a lot of design changes. Undo, paste it again at the same position. I'll just cut this and I'll just reorder it. That's it. You can fix the UI in a better way. Let's fix this indentation. Okay, so this is how it looks. Doesn't look that great, so let's get rid of this margin top 8, and it looks like this. For now I'm satisfied with this because the focus should be on a stripe. Okay, so I can click on this confirm and pay. Using this, it should go to bookings path, payments path, which is basically this create, and in that we can get these properties. So let's try. I already have raise here, so refresh, confirm and pay, and params, enter, and we can see all the details here. So now let's make other changes. I'll go to my create. In this, I'll first create a, let me close this, close. I'll first create a session. No, I'll first create a price. So I'll copy this, create price. This is the URL. Let's create a price. I can write money dot, we want this amount in cents, so money dot from amount, big decimal, then our params, or maybe booking. Let's use this booking payments params, and in this total amount, because that's the amount for which we want to create this price. This is the price that we'll send in the session, and this much amount will get deducted using a stripe. So we have used this, and we will have to convert it to cents. We don't want this to be a recurring. We do need product data. For now I'll add it like this, but instead of this I'll add that property dot name. We have made this as instance variable, so we can use it now. Add that property name. This will create the price. Let's remove raise and let's create a session. So for that I will go to checkout session and create a session. Copy this, paste. Sorry. And I think I should write it as stripe price and stripe session. We'll visit this URL later, but now we need a price ID. We had created this price, stripe price, because we needed an ID here. ID. Let's make it 1. We want this, and let's see. Refresh, confirm and pay. Property is null. Why is property null? Because we are not doing it like we haven't called this function anytime. So let's get rid of this. Refresh, and in that case, okay, no worries. Confirm and pay. Okay, it was unable to open the page. Let me check. Unpermitted parameters. Okay, so for that, okay, we will have to redirect. What will happen is that, let me use raise here and refresh. Okay, confirm and pay session. I'm just typing Stripe session if it is not visible. In this, we'll get a URL. If I maximize this, you can see URL. I'll write it as Stripe session.url. Stripe session is our variable that we have created, and URL is an attribute in that. And we get this URL. Let's copy this, paste it here. And if I go to this URL, it says Airbnb, which is our website name. It mentions the amount and the property name. Okay. And we have to make the entire payment here. We won't do that right now. But you see, whatever details we are seeing here, it is coming from, the name is coming from this product data. So because of that, I was thinking we might need to create a product. We'll see that later on, no worries. Let's make a payment. If I go to my payments, there are only 4 payments of $10 each. Let's do this. 4242424242. This is a fake card that we can use for testing. I won't be able to use India here. Again, laws in India have been a bit strict, but let's try. I might face some error. Yes, export laws, because of export laws. Overall, it's good, but for developers, it means we have to work a bit more. Pay. Let's see. And we have visited this URL, example.com success. This is coming from this one. Okay, we wrote this URL, so it was redirected to this. And if I refresh, there are 23. Earlier there were 23 transactions. Now let's say it should be 24. It is 24, amount is 110.92, and it's a successful. So you see, we were able to successfully do the transaction, but now we will have to make our code a bit better. So let me reduce the size. The first problem was that we opened the URL by copying it and pasting it in our something like this, right? We don't want that. We want to redirect directly. So for that, we can use redirect to yes, redirect to Rails controller. No, I think redirect to, we just have to open this URL, right? Session.url, and we'll have to allow other host, because once we visit Stripe, the host has changed. It is not our Airbnb website. So we will have to allow other host, and we will have to send status 303. Status 303. Basically, it mentions that we are redirecting. Okay. So this should work, but now we need a correct URL also. Like this is the URL that we are mentioning, that when the payment is successful, what should happen. Okay. So in that case, I want to call a separate function, but we will do that later. For now, let's call a local URL only. So for that, what we can do is get URL of controller action full rails. Nope. Okay, we'll see about what we have to do about this later. The first issue was to open this. Let's refresh. confirm and pay, and it is still not redirecting. Why? Undefined method URL. Oh, it should be Stripe session. It should be allow other host true. Okay. Refresh, confirm and pay, and it's still not working. Why? We are getting this URL, but it is still okay. Turbo stream. We are using turbo in this, right? Hotwire. So we'll have to use. We can redirect using turbo, but what I will do is I'll just disable it for now. So go to your div. In this, you can mention that we have to turn it off, or I can mention directly in div data turbo. Basically, I'm disabling turbo for this button. That's it. Refresh, confirm, and we were able to visit the checkout page. Maybe we can transfer email and all those details also. We'll do that later. But now once I make the payment, I'll visit this page by default, right? I don't want to visit this page. I want to call a function in this. I want to create a function called definition success and end, and I want to call this function. So how can I call that? For that, we'll first have to create a route. We'll create a get route. Obviously it cannot be post because we are just calling a URL, right? Let me go to on one of the Stripe document, this Stripe docs, I did see that we can use this also. Basically, we don't need that. Fine, don't worry about that. Get booking payments. That's our controller name. Sorry, I'm just thinking, what should I do? Booking payments / success. Should we keep our URL name like this or something else? I'm just thinking. Let's keep it like this. We'll see later on. 2. We will have to call this URL whenever. Okay, so as soon as this URL gets called, what do we want to do? We want to go to booking payments, which is the controller name, and in that we want to call this success function action. So as soon as this URL will be hit, this will get called, this particular action. So, and what we will do here, maybe raise for now. I'm just thinking, should I name it something differently, because it will get returned something like this. Localhost 3000 / this booking payment success. For now it's fine. Let's do this. Back, confirm, Payment was successful. We have visited this page and we have called the raise. That means if we will write something in this, it will work. So let's do one thing. Our database doesn't know, local database doesn't know that the payment was successful, the reservation has been made and all those things, right? So add reservation, we will add the reservation and add payment details offline, and we will also add the payment details also, but for that I don't need anything else in this. That's fine. So I can close all these things for now, I think. We will have to create it a bit correctly. Full URL in Rails from controller and action. We have the controller name, which this will not change. The action name will not change, but the domain name will change, right? So I want something dynamic there. Root URL, this, nope. I think only path or something like this. Okay, URL4. We can use URL4. Let me create this URL. Success URL4. We can mention, it doesn't say it here, but we can mention our controller name, which is booking payments. Let me check the documentation. URL4. Yes, controller name, booking payments. Along with that, action name, which will be success. Along with that, only path, which will be false. Okay, so if we write only path as true, what it will give is relative path. But if we write it as false, only path as false, it gives the full URL, and we need a full URL in this case. So let's try to use this here. I know it might be getting complicated, but I'll summarize this in the end. That would make things a bit easier. This quantity will always be 1. Success URL. We are redirecting, and we want to add a reservation also. Let me check reservation. Just a minute, I'll just pause this. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll add reservations and all those things details later on, because what will happen is this is a separate thing from Stripe. Okay, right now I'm just focusing on Stripe, and in this we have, to summarize this, what we have done is we have created a button in our view. The responsibility of that button is very simple. We just want to send some information to our controller. That's it. Nothing related to Stripe. In the controller, we have received that information. Now we can use that information to make payment. For that, we need 2 things. One is price, because price is getting used in session. Now, what is the use of session? Basically, when we this URL which is getting used, let me show it again. Confirm payment. So this page that you are seeing, it is a session. Okay, so to create this session, we need price, which is getting displayed here, and we can add the logo and all those details, maybe from our platform. I think we can add this Airbnb name, and this is coming from our Stripe dashboard. So we can add all those details here. Once the payments get successful in our Stripe session, we are also mentioning the successful URL. Basically, similar to that, we have cancel URL also. But what it means is that if it is successful, what should happen? So in that case, we are passing a URL for our success action in this controller. So as soon as the payment is successful, we will receive that information here. Now we can get the payment related information and ID and all those things also, but I don't think that's important for us because let me check the dashboard, because we will add payment details and reservation locally also. So but I'm just thinking if we want to keep our Stripe dashboard, whatever ID we have got from that in our database or not. Payment intent, it is creating a payment intent on its own. Let's do this. Let's make one more payment. Pay. Let's see. Race, we do have a race in this. We don't have a session. Let me check what this Stripe payment returns. Stripe when we call this Stripe session, what does it return? Let me check that. Because if it does have a payment intent ID, which we are seeing here, maybe I should save it. I'm just checking that. That would make things better in terms of keeping the data consistent, basically. We are getting success URL, check out this. No, we are not getting the payment intent. In that case, it's fine. It won't create any issues for us. So I'll wrap this video here. I know I have made few mistakes, and that's how it is. If you have done any development on your own, you will realize that it's a common thing. So, and I want to keep these videos like this only. So yeah, if this video was helpful, feel free to mention it in comments. If this was not helpful, do let me know. I'll try to create a separate project in which I'll teach Stripe from scratch because of this new entire documentation and everything. And yeah, hopefully it works out. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.